Good evening. This is Lynx, and I have something kind of cool to show you guys tonight. This was at the request of some people that actually surprised me. This is some of you have seen on the one of the psychic groups that I run. This oracle. This is the Black Cat Oracle. This is my oracle. I designed this. It is the second oracle I designed. The first two I designed were cards. I did a Lenormand. My first oracle that I designed was a Lenormand deck. This is the Lucky Lynx fortune cards. Okay, and this is the Lenormand. It's like that's the ring. See the rings, and then the contract is below, and then that's the the rider. So this was my first deck, but I'm not gonna. That was the first one I designed, the first oracle I designed, and it was neat because it was a lifelong dream. I wanted to do that, right? Well, then I designed this one called the Black Cat Oracle, and this is completely original. This one was based on, Madame Lenormand's, this was completely original from scratch, okay? But this was based on years of mind science training, things that I had learned in hypnosis and hypnosis study and study of the mind. So I designed this as a personal oracle to help me to find out what the motivations of a person were, or the hidden motivations of a person were, or so what was going on in a person's mind, whether or not they knew it or not, and then I could look into it, read it, and then I'd know. Okay, and I did it for my own personal understanding, but I didn't really think that anyone else would be interested in it. Well, it turns out that people were interested in it and asked me if they could actually buy this. So I've ended up having it printed for those people, and they've encouraged me to sort of put it out there for people. So I'm going to put it out and see what you guys think. This is the Black Cat Oracle, okay? And I'm going to show you what the cards are and what they mean, okay? And I do readings for you guys with these daily throws. Now you can see what the hell I'm doing with them. Now, it's pretty complicated, like I said, because it's based on several different kinds of teaching put together in an oracle that sort of creates a picture of someone's situation, their circumstances in their mind. But I'll show you a sort of simplified version of it. That's the first card. This is the Jackal. I throw these out sometimes in a grand tableau, and sometimes I throw them out just like that. Okay, this is the Jackal. It was the first card that came to me, or the first image that came to me was a jackal, and it represents things that are not what they seem, magic present, something moving under the surface, change happening. Because it was the first card that came to me, I knew it was a wild card. So this one's a wild card, and when it comes up, it could mean that the person really doesn't know what's going on themselves, or it could mean that they're hiding it. It could mean that the situation is just a wild card situation. This is the crow, or the omen. This is based on the Tibetan belief that crows or ravens have the ability to, depending upon what time of day, there's a whole science to it, depending upon what time of day, where the crow from, what direction, gives you an omen or a sign. So this was a message or an omen based on that science of watching ravens. That's the tiger. It has to do with someone's career. Okay, that has to do with a whole of Tibetan training that has to do with how to build a kingdom. And in that case, the tiger is having to do with the career, what you do on a day-to-day basis. This is a sort of mind type called single truth mind type. When this card comes up, it tells me that someone is sort of stuck on some way of thinking or their identity, and they're not really going to move from that, and they're likely to be very stubborn about it. This is the goat. It indicates that someone is either involved in enjoyment of food or sex or something else that they're sort of indulging in that is not necessarily the best thing for them. It's called goading. By the way, I am really big on archetypes. And for this deck and for my other deck, I looked at what archetypes were in our society right now. And the archetypes that were in our society that were most obvious were those from TV and movies. And I especially like old movies and old TV shows and things of that nature. You can watch them all on Hulu now and YouTube. So it doesn't matter where you were born then or not. You can always find these things. And I liked picking archetypes from old TV shows that represented certain things. And this was the first of the six of the archetypes that are really important to what the Tibetans say is involved in building a kingdom. And this is the sun. And it's Samantha from Bewitched, because if any of you watched it, you know she was very much a sun archetype. There are 6 archetypes that run through this that actually come from the tarot. They actually go back to Tibetan teaching about how to build a kingdom with those archetypes. This is Curious George, and it represents someone who's either being childish or a childlike mentality, or taking a child's mind or a child's attitude. The swans has to do with partners and partnership. This is the durian fruit. It represents, there are 4 fruits in this, and this one represents someone who is angry and someone who is unlikely to move because of their anger. I call it angry and stubborn. This is another kind of mind type. This is a self-reliant individual. We call it the secret mind type, or James Bond is a self-reliant individual. So that's a person who's self-reliant. The mala represents faith. This is the tomb or the gravesite, and it represents someone's legacy or their desire to leave a legacy. Laughter, that's the laughing Buddha, and that's Lucille Ball and Harpo Marx in the background. Impulsiveness, that's the second fruit. It means someone's willing to risk something because they're confident in a certain situation, but maybe not in another situation. So that's impulsiveness. This is the mummy. Where the mummy lands tells me cause and effect. A lot of people aren't aware that their actions or their thoughts are a cause that leads to an effect. Well, the mummy tells me whatever lands on either side. What lands on the one side or the left side, if you're looking down at it, tells me what the cause was, and then the other one is the effect, and that's the mummy. And any of you who've seen the mummy, you realize that the whole point of it was a cause and effect had been set into motion, and that the whole thing was about balancing the scales of that. The geese is social pressure. The pineapple is cautiousness. That's the third of 4 of the fruits. The second archetype that we have of the 6 archetypes is the star, and that's I Dream a Genie. She was certainly a star-like character, full of enthusiasm, and she drew attention very easily. This is the compassionate mind. Those of you who've ever read this is actually based on a story by, this imagery is based on a story by Oscar Wilde. That was the Nightingale, who gave his life for a young boy who wanted it. If you've never read it, read the story of the Nightingale. It's a beautiful story, and that's pretty much how you illustrate the compassionate mind. He gave his life for a boy that in the end didn't even really deserve it. And sometimes it's important to keep that in mind. But what was important to him was that he gave what someone else needed. This is the individual losing the self, or going beyond to something, becoming something bigger, so much bigger that you don't even have a self anymore. So it's sort of ultimate growth. This is the Hermit. It's the next of the 6 archetypes, the Hermit. Those of you who ever watched Lost in Space know that Dr. Smith was always making a connection for them. He was always chatting and talking about what he could do, didn't necessarily deliver, but was out there always making connections with people, which is what hermits do. They make a connection here, a connection there, and they connect people to things they need. This person who has this information, that person there, that person there. This is wealth, the wealth turtle. This one is rapaciousness. Rapaciousness is the ability to go after something with such certainty and such unlimited desire to get it done that you make it happen. On the bottom, you can see that's the Witches of Eastwick, that were totally an example of rapaciousness. So that's the ability to go after and get something and make it come to fruition. And any of you have ever seen the movie, the 3 of them had a desire that was so, and this is the moment actually in the movie where that desire brought something into being, and they summoned a demon. Wrath, that's the ability to cut through the bullshit and get something done and take action. This is wisdom. or knowledge, actually, the ability to show what you know, or what it is that you know, or in some cases what a person doesn't know. Okay? This is an individual who doesn't really know who he is, tries to present himself in a certain way, but doesn't really have an understanding of who he is or what his motivations are, and is easily changed because of it. This is superstition. I have two significators. One is a woman. That's Veronica Lake, for those of you who know old movies. And my man is Gary Cooper. This is the magician, one of the other archetypes. Those of you who remember, there was an old show called The Magician, and Bill Bixby was the star of it. He was actually an illusionist who would go and solve mysteries. You can find them on YouTube. Those are all on YouTube. They're really cool. This is impulsive or risk-taking. The peach is the risk-taker. He who takes the biggest risk gets the biggest results. If you don't take risks, you don't. This is sort of those people that you meet that can help you. I call it the associates. It's the finches. This has to do with pride. It's the peacock, someone's pride or their reputation. This has to do with your circle of people that you surround yourself with. That's the elephants. And who you choose to surround yourself with as a support network. I got two left, and these are the last two archetypes. This one is strength, and it's the bionic woman. She was the ultimate strong. If you ever saw this, she was not only strong because she was physically strong, but she was emotionally strong as well. And the last one is justice, and that's Columbo. So, and he really was the ultimate in justice. He was very good at, he didn't take himself too seriously. He was very good at balancing the scales, and he never saw himself beneath someone or above someone. It was really neat. So that is my Black Cat Oracle, and those are what the cards are. And this was by request that someone asked, what is this thing? And several people have already ordered it, which I'm very surprised and grateful for, because I didn't think it would be something that anyone would be interested in me. I made this, for myself, my own oracle, but I'm really glad that people are into it, and that they can learn something for it. It is like no other oracle out there. I get right to the motivations, the mental motivations, the deep inside motivations of an individual like that, and shows me incredible outcomes. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you guys, if you're interested in it, give me an IM or message me, and I'll tell you more about it. And I hope you enjoyed it, and you guys have a great night.